Donald Trump is getting booed across the globe, not just once, but at multiple stadiums on the same day. From London to New Jersey, packed crowds are turning on him. But here's the catch. It's not just about Trump. It's what these boos represent that could change everything. Why is this happening? And what does it mean for his future? Stick with me, because we're about to uncover something big. Imagine this. It's not just a one-off. These boos are happening across different continents, in different contexts. It starts with an NBA game in London's O2 Arena, where during the national anthem, the crowd bursts into jeers chanting, "Leave Greenland alone!" They're not holding back, and it's loud. Then, fast forward a bit, and we see it again at a music festival in New Jersey where Bruce Springsteen himself is calling out Trump, denouncing his regime. The crowd applauding, cheering, fueling the fire. But here's the question. Is this just random outrage, or is it part of a bigger shift? What does this say about Trump's grip on power, and could this actually be the beginning of the end? Now let's talk about what we know for sure. At these packed events, the boos aren't subtle. They're full-blown protests. At the O2 Arena in London, when the anthem played, a member of the crowd screamed, "Leave Greenland alone!" And the crowd, they erupted into applause. It wasn't just an isolated comment. It was a moment of collective frustration. But what does that moment reveal? The audience wasn't just reacting to Trump's presence. They were reacting to a deeper, simmering anger toward his policies, especially the threats toward Greenland. And here's where it gets interesting. Notice what's missing. No one's defending him. No one's rallying behind his cause. What happens when that kind of unified rejection spreads even further? And just when you think it can't get worse for Trump, it does. The situation is rapidly intensifying. From London to New Jersey, this backlash isn't just confined to a few angry voices. It's spreading. Bruce Springsteen calls out the Trump regime, and the crowd responds with thunderous applause. But here's the kicker. It's not just a concert or a basketball game. This is becoming a cultural moment, a shift in how people view his presidency, one that echoes across history. Remember when we saw similar disdain during other global protests, when leaders lost touch and the people started turning on them? This isn't just a temporary spike in outrage. This feels like a tipping point, and that's what makes it so dangerous for Trump. But the story doesn't end with boos and protests. The deeper we dig, the more disturbing the evidence gets. Just days after the New Jersey protest, Trump's own actions reveal the disconnect between his words and reality. Take his recent remarks about Greenland. He doubled down, accusing Denmark of being unable to handle the Russian threat and suggesting an outright invasion. But here's the twist. His words are full of contradictions. While the crowd at these events is rejecting him, his regime is pushing harder than ever. And this is where everything flips. Trump's own rhetoric is beginning to alienate even his most loyal supporters. The louder he pushes, the further he isolates himself. At what point does this all come crashing down? Now let's add some fuel to the fire. In Greenland, protests are erupting in the streets. People are marching to the American consulate, chanting in defiance. This isn't a small demonstration. It's a full-blown rejection of Trump's threats. Meanwhile, on the global stage, leaders are starting to take notice. NATO partners are making it clear. If Trump moves forward with his plans to invade Greenland, they will stand in opposition. Canada's already positioning special forces. The pressure is mounting and fast. But here's the real kicker. If this continues, if this backlash grows, Trump will find himself not just isolated at home, but facing international defiance that could bring even greater consequences. What happens when the world unites against one man? But let's step back for a second and think about what this really means for everyday people, you. For months now, the effects of Trump's actions have rippled through society. The harsh immigration policies, the threats against international sovereignty, the rising costs of living. You don't have to be in Greenland or at a concert to feel it. It's showing up in the cost of food, the lack of affordable housing, the instability on the streets. People are struggling, families are struggling, and with every tweet, every new policy, it feels like the divide between the government and the people only gets wider. If this feels familiar, say so in the comments, because this isn't just a political issue anymore. This is personal. Now, let's take a step beyond the headlines. What's really driving all of this? It's not just about Trump as an individual. It's about the systems that enable him. There's leverage at play here. Deep, systemic leverage. Think about the spectacle, the way the media amplifies every move he makes, the fear that keeps people divided. This isn't just chaos for chaos's sake. It's a calculated game of power where the stakes are about more than just politics. They're about control. And the most unsettling part, this kind of power doesn't disappear easily. Once it's entrenched, it doesn't give up without a fight. And Trump, he's using every tactic at his disposal to hold on, knowing full well that the more chaotic the world becomes, the more people rely on him as their savior. But here's the real insight. It's all smoke and mirrors, and it's working for now. So where do we go from here? The path ahead isn't clear, but there are two possible directions. First, you have the path of continued defiance, both from the people and from international powers. If the protests keep growing, if the pressure continues to mount, it could lead to even more significant pushback. There's the chance that Trump's grip loosens, that the system he's built around himself starts to fracture. But on the other hand, there's a darker path, one where the chaos escalates, and Trump uses that chaos to double down, pushing even harder on his agenda. The military, the border patrol, the rhetoric, they could all escalate into something much more dangerous. One thing's for sure, the momentum is already building, and no matter which direction we go, the next move is already in motion. And that brings us to the one undeniable truth. This moment we're living through is a tipping point. The world is watching, the people are speaking out, and the cracks are beginning to show. But here's the catch. We can't just sit back and hope for change. The next steps are already being written. The question is, what role will we play in it? Will we stand by and watch, or will we demand something different? Whatever happens next, one thing is clear, this story is far from over. If you want to stay on top of the unfolding drama, subscribe, and let's dive deeper into what's really going on, because this is just the beginning.